Candy, Operation Caligula, 2049, Zurich, Earth Standard Timeline. Candy Reyes had never been late to a seminar. The irony that she'd be late to a lecture on temporal bias in ancient Roman historiography wasn't lost on her. As she stumbled into the marble-floored lecture hall at the University of Zurich, a tremor rippled through the building, an eerie, pulsing vibration that made the air smell like copper and ozone. Everyone else paused, a few checking their neural implants, others whispering. Candy froze, not from fear, but from recognition. She had written her doctoral thesis on Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, better known as Caligula, but her expertise extended to the obscure and arcane, Roman death cults, apocryphal documents about the Vestal disjunction, and of course, the long-debunked Chronos fragment, a disputed stone inscription referencing a divine clock that bent Caesar's fate. The tremor wasn't seismic, it was temporal. It lasted 7 seconds. 7 seconds later, Candy Reyes' life ceased to belong solely to her. A man with no reflection approached her that night. Dressed in nondescript smart fabric and matte gray glasses, he said only, "Temporal fracture, Rome. 41 AD. You're the best." The next day she was gone. Chrono Integrity Agency, Forward Ops Outpost, Axis 3. The C.I.A., no, not that C.I.A., was tucked between timelines like a bookmark in a melting library. The Chrono Integrity Agency was humanity's answer to the unpredictable consequences of time travel. The fracture had been detected in Axis 3, a divergent stream where, instead of being assassinated in 41 AD, Emperor Caligula survived. And not just survived, he thrived, forging a Roman Empire that embraced anachronistic science, rituals, and stolen technology from time travelers who had crashed, miscalculated, or been captured. Mission code name, Operation Caligula, the debriefing AI told Candy. Status, catastrophic divergence. Candy narrowed her eyes. Why me? The AI hesitated. You studied Caligula's reign from both traditional and apocryphal angles. You also wrote the only academically accepted treatise on the possibility of cultural memory loss via chronospatial bleed. Candy blinked. You're saying I'm qualified because I believe the weird parts of history? Correct, it replied. You're fluent in the improbable. 41 AD, Rome, the Palatine Hill arrival, burned like liquid frost in her lungs. Candy gasped, hidden in the shadow of a fruit vendor's cart as the portal flickered and disappeared. She adjusted her stola, her period-accurate clothing sewn from smart fabric that adapted its thermal signature. Her cover identity, Candida Rhea, an educated provincial scribe sent to assist the palace archivist. A palace guard shouted for her to move, and she shuffled past him with her eyes downcast. But the brief glance she caught of him chilled her. His armor had seams too precise, polished to a degree Rome had never achieved in 41 AD. His helmet bore no plume, but a band of obsidian metal etched with glowing sigils. It looked like something out of a fever dream, or worse, a cross-time artifact. She was too late. The fracture had grown. Within the court of the mad gods, she was summoned before Caligula within 2 days. The chamber was cloaked in dusk light, purple drapes filtering the sun. Candles floated in midair, levitating with crude electromagnetism or some bastardized technology stitched from time wreckage. And there he sat, Caligula. Youthful, almost angelic in appearance. A boy king who might have been a poet if not for his madness. He wore a breastplate that shimmered not with metal, but with refracted strands of microfibers. He smiled when she entered. "You don't belong here," he said immediately. Her stomach dropped. I beg your pardon, Domine," she stammered, kneeling. "Oh, don't kneel. Gods kneel to me," he said lightly. "You were sent, like the others, from the bleeding edge of tomorrow." Candy held still. "How many before me?" she asked carefully. "3, he replied, running a hand through his gold-streaked hair. "One tried to kill me with a crystal knife. Another wept for the future. The third gave me this." He raised a small, cube-like device, cracked and sparking. She recognized it. A temporal stabilizer core, a piece of chronotech that should never, ever be loose in the past. Caligula waved a hand. I performed the rites. Blood, fire, reflection. The cube spoke. Candy's mouth went dry. Spoke? He nodded. Showed me shadows of cities with glass towers, empires in the sky. I saw Rome fall in all of them, 1,000 ways. Betrayal, fire, madness. His gaze turned sharp. I will not be forgotten. A spiral of power. In the following weeks, Candy embedded herself deeper into Caligula's world. He named her his Chrono Scribe, a mocking title, but one that gave her access. She cataloged the rituals he performed, documented the fragments of time junk his engineers reverse-engineered. She noted a disturbing blend of pagan blood rites and hacked temporal mechanics. He wasn't just preserving Rome, he was corrupting time itself. Candy found scrolls inked with diagrams that echoed string theory, murals painted with alien constellations. She saw a room of mirrors, each showing a different Rome, some prosperous, others drowned in sand, one where the Colosseum was a spaceport. And every night, Caligula meditated in a circle of broken stabilizers, whispering to gods who were never meant to hear. Claudius the Watcher. It was Claudius, Caligula's stammering, half-mad uncle, who watched her most closely. Historians remembered him as a fool who became emperor, but this Claudius was observant. Paranoid, yes, but sharp. I see you take notes in the wrong direction, he said once, pointing to her right-to-left marginalia. Greek or future, or are those the same? Candy didn't answer. Claudius offered her wine. My nephew is building something. I hear screams at night, the kind no man should make, and I saw a soldier disappear in a light after touching one of his gifts. He leaned closer. If you are from where I think you're from, stop him. The ritual of ending Candy discovered Caligula's true plan during a storm. Lightning rippled through the halls as she found a hidden chamber under the temple of Castor and Pollux. There, blue fire danced on a copper obelisk, and Caligula stood within a painted circle of blood. He didn't flinch when she entered. Everything dies, he said, but if I erase the future, I erase judgment. He turned to her, eyes alight. No books, no betrayal, no assassination, just a perfect, eternal now. He had connected the stabilizer core to the heart of Rome itself, its ley lines, its ancient tombs, its bloodied altars. When he activated it, the pulse would ripple backward and forward. Time would fold. The future would burn out. Candy lifted her weapon. It wasn't a gun. It was a memory implant, designed to show Caligula what really happened to him. The betrayal, the knife in the tunnel, the cries of the Senate. But would he accept it? Would knowing change him? Or would only death stop the god of time? The device Candy carried had no trigger, just a spike of crystal, dark as midnight, forged from compressed neural data. A memory blade, they called it, meant for surgical use or reformation, but tonight it would become a weapon. Caligula stood in the blood-slicked chamber, the core of a crashed stabilizer humming behind him. He was half naked, symbols painted across his chest in overlapping tongues, Latin, Aramaic, and binary. You came to kill me, didn't you? He asked, almost playful. I came to show you who you really are, Candy replied. He laughed, and it echoed like static through the stone vault. I am who I am, more than man. I saw it. I've walked futures, bled memories from men who fell into my time. You think you know me, Candida Rhea, but you don't. He stepped forward. You think I'm mad? She didn't answer. He reached for her, but she raised the spike, not threatening, but pleading. This isn't a weapon, not like you think, she whispered. Let me show you, please. Caligula hesitated. His eyes twitched. He tilted his head. A gift? From one traveler to another? He reached out. The spike pierced his palm. There was no blood, just light. The memory flood Caligula gasped. Visions poured into him. Candy had encoded them herself. The moment of his assassination, the betrayal of his guards, the Senate's cheer, his broken, bleeding body in the passage beneath the Palatine. But more, he saw what came after. Rome in ruin, Nero's fire, centuries of collapse, a world reborn from his ashes that forgot him, reduced him to caricature. And then the alternate paths, where Rome became a machine god empire, where timelines split, where cities in the stars worshipped 1,000 other names. He saw himself in none of them. He breathed. I was supposed to die. Yes, Candy said quietly. That's why we're here. Caligula dropped to his knees. The blood from his earlier rites began to boil. The stabilizer core behind him flared. Claudius moves above them. Claudius stared at the burning sky from the palace balcony. Storms spiraled overhead, not made from clouds but time distortion. The air tasted of copper and lightning. A slave ran to him. Domine, the sky, it breaks. Claudius dismissed the man with a tremble in his hand. He had heard Candy's whispers in the halls. He had watched Caligula scribble impossible diagrams into marble. He knew something was coming, and he had prepared. From his private study, he retrieved a scroll. Not Roman, but carbon silk, and encoded in a cipher he had no right to understand. He didn't need to. It was left by the third traveler, the one who died screaming. On it, one message had burned into his soul. If Gaius survives, you do not. Collapse and convergence. Below, the chamber began to distort. The blood circle cracked. Time was unraveling, every second in Rome overlapping like pages in a book caught in the wind. Caligula staggered to his feet. You showed me death. Candy nodded. It's not punishment, it's release. He wept, and the palace trembled. But the core, wounded and unstable, began to pulse faster. I can't stop it, Caligula whispered. The future is trying to erase me now. It knows I've seen it. Candy raced toward the stabilizer, pulling from her robes a shard of backup code, a fail-safe beacon keyed to her DNA. If she could plug it into the core, she could collapse the fracture point, restore the stream, and trap herself in it forever. Caligula saw what she intended. No, he said, you shouldn't have to be forgotten too. He pushed her away. Sacrifice of a god. With shaking hands, Caligula took the beacon and pressed it into the stabilizer. It flared. Light and memory collided. I was never meant to rule forever, he said. The chamber shone. A roar like the collapse of history itself shook the temple. Let the future remember me not as a tyrant, but as a man who chose to fall. And with that, Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, Caligula, stepped into the core. It consumed him. A sky of ashes candy awoke in an alley. The air smelled of soot, but the streets, they were normal. Roman but crude again. Dirt roads, stone sandals. The guards no longer wore obsidian helms but iron ones. The strange technology was gone. Time had healed, but so had something in her. The mission log in her neural link blinked green. Axis 3 restored. Operation Caligula, complete. She didn't smile. She simply wept. Post-mission debrief. Axis Prime. Back at C.I.A. Forward Ops, the agent with no reflection stood beside a glowing chronodock. You did well, he said. I didn't kill him, Candy said. He chose his own ending. Good, the agent replied. History means nothing if there's no choice. She turned to go. Reyes, he called out. She paused. We recovered something from the temporal residue, an artifact, from him. He handed her a small cube. It was the memory blade, but etched now with a single Latin word, Libertas. 1 month later, Chrono Integrity Agency headquarters. Zurich time travel doesn't leave scars, not in the traditional sense, but in the quiet moments. When Candy Reyes closed her eyes, she could still hear him. Caligula's final words, not of conquest, but choice. And yet something had changed in the timelines. History remembered Caligula's assassination again, the empire's decline, the rise of Claudius. But deep in the digital archives of the C.I.A., Candy discovered an anomaly, a painting buried in a museum in New Madrid, Axis 7. It depicted Caligula kneeling in a circle of blue flame, the phrase, "Let memory be my monument," carved beneath. It had never existed before. The Claudian Enigma director Sova, a woman who had personally orchestrated over 76 timeline realignments, called Candy into her office. Holograms of fractured timelines floated around her like shattered galaxies. Claudius lived longer than expected in Axis 3, she said. Candy nodded. He was smart. Sharper than most give him credit for. Sova swiped through a holofeed. He left scrolls behind. In them, he wrote of a figure called the Librarian of Hours, a mysterious scribe who taught him the value of endings. Candy went cold. He described her? She asked. Sova nodded. Hair like night, a voice that could calm storms. She swallowed. He remembered me. That shouldn't be possible, Sova said. No, it shouldn't. Temporal intervention protocols ensured memory degradation, but something had broken through. Candy stared at the cube Caligula left behind. The words still shimmered across its face. Libertas. Freedom. From what? From time? From destiny? Project Echo Furnace. She didn't expect to be recruited again, but after a mission like Caligula's, retirement wasn't an option. There were more fractures, stranger ones, an Alexander the Great who lived to 90, a Napoleon who discovered quantum mechanics, a Ming dynasty that touched the moon. But Operation Caligula remained different, because it was personal. Sova handed Candy a slate. We're assigning you to Project Echo Furnace. What is it? Someone is sending messages back in time, encoded in artifacts, relics, even cave paintings, across multiple Axis branches. Candy raised an eyebrow. Someone with a time beacon? Possibly, but here's what caught our eye. She enlarged a photo of a fresco discovered in an illegal dig beneath Vatican Rome. It showed a woman standing in the ruins of a burning city, holding a memory blade. Beneath, scratched into basalt, one phrase, remember Gaius. Rome again, 43 AD, Axis 5. It took nearly a year to track the signals. They weren't messages, they were imprints. Emotional memories burned into the fabric of time by someone with both a stabilizer core and a very dangerous understanding of chronotech. When Candy finally arrived, it was in a Rome 2 years removed from Caligula's canonical death. But the city felt wrong. Guards wore armor with strange detailing, small black etchings resembling circuitry. Civic buildings shimmered with glints of metallic pigment in the stone. It was subtle, but it was there, the fingerprints of a fractured past. And then came the whispers, not of Caligula, but of a prophet, a Sibyl who claimed to speak across centuries. The Sibyl and the machine Candy found her in the ruins of a pre-Roman temple deep beneath Aventine Hill. The Sibyl's followers had built a subterranean shrine around her. Artificial torches burned with steady, unnatural light, and at the center of the temple sat a woman who looked no older than Candy, but her eyes shimmered like glass. I knew you would come, the Sibyl said. Her voice sounded too clear, as if modulated. Candy's fingers brushed the dagger at her belt. You're from the future. So are you, the Sibyl replied, but I'm from a further one. Name, Candy demanded. I've had many, she said, but the man you called Caligula once named me Claudiana. Candy blinked. What? I was his ward, the woman said, in the timeline you tried to erase. Claudiana stood. When you gave him the memory blade, he didn't destroy the core. He split it, half into himself, half into me. She opened her palm. There it was, a fragment of the stabilizer, still humming. He knew you'd come back, knew someone would. Candy stepped forward slowly. What are you doing here? Claudiana smiled, completing his work, but this time not to destroy the future, to heal it. The true face of the god of time. Claudiana had built a temporal relay using pieces from the old Rex, encoded memory crystals, and her own preserved genetic structure. She claimed she could stabilize Rome's evolution, not by making it eternal, but by preparing it for collapse. Every empire falls, she said, but what if the fall was designed? What if the end was the gift? Candy stared. You want to engineer history? No, Claudiana said. I want to give people a choice, the way you gave him. Candy didn't answer immediately. She remembered Caligula's face, the fear, the awe, the choice. Maybe this was his legacy, not blood or empire, but redemption. Still, it was dangerous. Too dangerous. "Shut it down," Candy said. "I can't," Claudiana said. "It's already begun." The floor shook. The relay flared. The final divergence. Candy had 30 seconds. Claudius's bloodline had survived in fragments across timelines. And now one of them, Claudiana, was about to overwrite history with a new blend of prophecy and design. She could destroy the relay, end it all. Or, Candy stepped forward. She raised her blade. Claudiana didn't flinch. "I trust you," she said. Candy stabbed the blade into the core, but not to destroy it, to rewrite the data. She injected one final code: endings matter. The relay screamed. Then, silence. Zurich. 4 years later, Candy stood on a balcony, watching the new recruits. The timeline had held. No God Emperor Rome, no eternal empire. Just the usual chaos of human history. But deep in the agency's vault, they kept one object sealed in temporal vacuum: a memory shard. Inside, Caligula's last vision, and a voice, his voice. "Let them remember I chose to fall." Epilogue. The monument that wasn't in axis. 2b, a tourist walks past the ruins of an unnamed Roman statue. No inscription, no records. Just a figure once revered, now forgotten. But beneath its base, hidden by time and ash, are 4 words carved in Latin. Tempus Deus, voluntate. Time is a god by will.